Hello everybody, my name is Lucy and welcome to Books and Brushes. So today I am doing the Femathon book tag. The original book tag was done by Books and Chocoholic and I was tagged by Kaz over at Cats and Camera. I'm really excited to do this tag. I love the questions. I absolutely love both the previous channels I've mentioned. Their videos are great and the original video is so fucking good. The ranting, I fucked with it so hard. The feminism, glorious. So today we are doing the Femathon book tag and let's just get straight into the questions. The first prompt is an ugly book cover you love. Now this one I found quite tricky because what I think is beautiful, I think is beautiful, and it's hard to think what I think is beautiful which other people won't think is beautiful, you know? Especially because I'm an artist, I design, I like to think that what I think is beautiful, so it's hard to kind of figure out what other people would think is not beautiful. So I had to think a lot about this one. There's a lot of books with people on covers that are meh. That's the thing, if I don't think it looks beautiful, it doesn't fit the question. So I had a thought and I ended up going with the new comic book series by Victoria Schwab. She has recently been posting the new covers for them and it's just dropped. I don't know when they're coming out, release date will be here, but she recently dropped them and I think this is the first cover volume of the comic. I think this is ugly and beautiful. It's one of the few things I thought that would fit this prompt. It's very striking visually with the face, the top half and the bottom half. It's very jarring. It's kind of ugly, you know? It's grimy, it's gritty, it's not pretty, but it's design-wise, it's very beautiful and striking and interesting looking. So I think this fits the question very, very well. It was the best book cover I could come up with. Prompt number 2 is an authentic female friendship. We love that in this household. Delirium was one I considered because the main relationship between our main character Lena and her best friend Hannah is such a great example of a real best friend. They are so different from one another, yet they just seem to fit and they aren't perfect. I won't spoil the series for you, but let's just say mistakes are made. I think it is a brilliant example of an actual real life best friend. It makes sense, I love it, we love to see it. But in the end, I decided to pick one of my favourite books, which is a contemporary, which isn't common for me, and that is All the Things We Never Said by Yasmin Rahman. If you've been on this channel before, you know I love this book. This book has such a brilliant female friendship, and the reason why I picked this one in particular is because this book centres around this friendship between a trio of girls. So this book is about 3 girls who are completely different, but they all share one commonality, and that is they're all considering suicide. Yes, this book is heavy about mental illness, mental health and depression, suicidal thoughts, all of that jazz. Yes, some might say morbid, I say relatable. Love that book, it is my soul. And this book focuses on these 3 girls and the friendship they grow together, and the whole book, I mean the tagline for the book is "Could friendship save them?" and I absolutely love the friendship between these 3 girls. It is so perfectly real, just like everything in the book is so grounded in reality. These 3 female friends, they are completely different personalities. In fact, when they first meet, they're really on edge, they're guarded, they don't like each other at first, which everyone's got a friend that they hated when they first met, right? I know so many people that have said that. I hated my best friend when I met her. It happens. And these 3 girls, so completely different in perspective and completely different walks of life, and yet they support each other and they become this brilliant friendship group that meshes so well. And they are far from perfect. Like these 3 girls, they mess up, they're not always great to each other, they have arguments and fights, but at the end, at the core of it, they are there for each other and they stand up for each other and the problems and the real fear for each other of anything happening to one another. And just trust me on this one, the friendship is so solid and so beautiful and so real, and I love that. I love a book that can show a good female friendship. We love that in all the books. When I was thinking about this question, there's not as many as you think that do female friendship very, very well, and this book does it spectacularly with the themes of mental health and everything. It's just glorious. And this is a contemporary story with no romance. Yes, they exist. A contemporary, or any book really, doesn't always need a romance. I love romance as much as the next girl, but this story is literally one of my favorites ever, and it doesn't need it. The friendship it doesn't lack anything. These girls aren't chasing after boys. In fact, one of them is a lesbian, so that would be moot. There's not that the whole all girls are just catty after each other's men vibe. Like, what is that? What is that vibe? No, this book doesn't even concern itself in any of that drama and bullshit. It concerns itself with real issues and 3 girls and a friendship that is so real and to be admired, and reminds me very heavily of the relationship I have with some of my friends and that core group of girlfriends that I have. That book is amazing and I will always recommend it, and it fits really, really well for this prompt. Prompt number 3, a protagonist strong in their femininity? I love this question. A lot of the times in society and in culture and media, we put off the idea that feminism is bad because women are bad. That's why we end up with the girls trying to be one with the boys and being tomboys and all that stuff, because we've hammered into society that being feminine in any way is bad. You know, it's weak. Crying is weak. Liking pink is stupid. Romance is dumb. Flowers are shit, you know? Who wants that? I'd rather be with the boys. And there's this whole culture around feminism being bad. This is where the not like other girls things come from, because we're so inherently scared to be seen as a weak woman. We don't want to be seen as a woman. We want to be a badass, you know? And that whole culture is dumb. Why a woman can play football and drink beers and that's cool, but when a man's like, oh, pink is nice, I like to dance, then suddenly it's laughable and weak. So men feel the effects of it too, because they're not even allowed to show a slight hint of femininity. They're not even allowed to show emotion because that's feminine and emasculating and it makes you weak and bad. And I'm like, no, humans need emotions. Are you some kind of psychopath robot? Like, what? Why is this a thing we promote to men and women? It's not good for anyone. So femininity is not bad. So I think this prompt is really great. And the book I picked for it is The Saviour's Sister by Jenna Moreci. Now this book is amazing. I love it. This is the companion novel to The Saviour's Champion, and it is about a tournament where men fight to the death to get the Saviour's hand in marriage, which is like this godly, holy queen of magic who purifies the land. Bloodshed, romance, it's a great time. The female lead in this book is a complete badass. We love her. She's such a great main character to follow. And the reason I picked her for this prompt in particular is because she's trying to prevent her own assassination, and she is getting dirty with it. She's going around cutting bitches because she's got to figure out this whole plot to her assassination. So she's dealing in a lot of dark, gritty, grimy violence. But yeah, she loves pretty dresses. She loves lilies. She loves romance and paintings and pretty things. She likes dresses, but she can also cut a bitch. Like, you know, like human beings, how they're not all one note, you know? How humans can have multiple complex personalities of different traits and attributes, and it's a fine mixture of all. And that's why it's great, because she's strong and she's trying to prevent her own death. She's struggling. You see her not exactly happy with the idea of murder. She's not a freaking psychopath, but she ain't holding back in stopping her own death here. She is dealing with this male-run Senate, which are basically invalidating her at every turn. And she is a feminine woman. She has feminine attributes, and that does not mean weakness. Why does liking pink make you a bad person? Make it make sense. If you want a badass queen who is also feminine, there you go, there's a rec for you. Enjoy. Also, Jenna Moreci, the author, is a badass. We love her, yes. Just to finish that off, you don't have to be murdering people to be a badass. You don't have to be hard attitude, I do what I want to be a badass. Just putting it out there, you can be the lovely, delightful mother of an army of children baking cakes, and you are a badass. Just putting it out there. Prompt number 4, a matriarchy. So that is like female-run government or world rather than a male one. Shockingly, but not shockingly, struggled with this one. I legit cannot really think of a book that is a matriarchy. Now, what does that say? Maybe no answer has more information than if I did come up with an answer for this one. Fuck, none of these books are female governed. There's a few reaches I can make with this one, trying to make it fit. The Saviour's Sister kind of would work for that again, although I don't want to reuse it, but the head of state is a woman who is the magical saviour of the land, although technically doesn't have any power anymore in the political system. As stated, she was fighting against a senate of men who stole basically all of her authority and her political power. So does that count? I don't know. That seems a little patriarchal to me. Patriarchal word? I'm pretty sure that sounds like a word. Wow, I should know words. I read fucking books. You'd think I would know words, wouldn't you? The Library of the Unwritten, maybe? I mean, the head of the library is a woman, and it mentions the devil and the creator, but it doesn't say whether they're man or woman. Does that count? Oh no. The Bells? Was that a matriarchy? Man, I'm struggling to remember. Anyway, if you can't tell, I'm really struggling with this one. I think that's about all I got, unless there's one I have that I can't think of, or it's just not coming to my brain. But if you have any great recs for a matriarchy, please let me know down in the comments, because we obviously need to improve this in the publishing industry. We need to raise up these matriarchal books, because I'm not seeing them. And I want to know what ones you know of down below. Oh, I thought of one. So I'm going to go with A Song of Race and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This is a fantasy, and I'm pretty sure that the ruler of this fantasy land is a woman, and the ruler before that was her mother, the queen, and now she is the queen. So this is a matriarchy. Hallelujah! Thank you, A Song of Race and Ruin. Not only do you you bring so many amazing things to the table, but you've also managed to bring the matriarchy that we were lacking. Thank you, thank you. So much quality in this book. It's a fantastic fantasy read, and it is excellent. Prompt number 5 is a book tackling feminism. Now, there's a few options that I could go with this. We just mentioned The Bells. How about that? That's a very feminist type book. We got The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill. It literally says the feminist Little Mermaid, so that definitely works for this one. Cinderella is Dead. Haven't read it yet, but I'm pretty sure that's got those vibes. The Handmaid's Tale and Vox, both that have the misogyny and the women's oppression definitely reverting. We Are Blood and Thunder is a very female empowered fantasy. Girls in Paper of Fire, very much about girls trying to fight a very cruel system of enslaving them. Heartstream, I won't talk about the feminine issues in that because there may be a few spoilers in that one, but it definitely surprised me with some of the feminist angles it took in that one. You'd have to read it to know what I'm talking about. With The Fire on High, it talks about a woman and in particular a mother. We've got themes of slut shaming coming. The Places I've Cried in Public, a brilliant book about toxic relationship and feminine issues like slut shaming and toxicity, and let's not go into that. Meat Market, a book about a girl who becomes a model, and well, there's a shitstorm of stuff going on in that. That's a very tense book, but with all that said in mind, the one I've decided to specifically pick for this prompt is The Burning by Laura Bates. Now, Laura Bates is known for her feminist work in literature and in all sorts of other things. She definitely speaks out on it quite a lot, and this book was just so good. I almost don't want to tell you the plot for this one because I always say with this, I went in knowing nothing, and oh my god, it was so good to just know nothing and go in. So I believe that's the way you should go in. So if you don't want to know any plot details because you haven't read it, definitely skip to this bit. You won't miss anything. Just do a little skippity skip to miss the plot, basically. Okay, so here I am talking about the plot. This is about a girl who gets slut shamed and about the pressure of girls in modern society. It's a shitstorm of misogyny, bullying, and just the complete backwards thinking of a system, and just putting this girl under so much. It is so tense and gut-wrenching to read. My heart was in my throat the entire time I read this book. I feel anxious remembering reading it, and it was a long time ago now, so that feeling has stuck with me. And this book also tackles not only a modern perspective, but also an older perspective about the witch burning and Salem and all of that jazz, about this girl who was used and abused and had it all put on her and burned at the stake. And it's connecting this modern story and this older story, and how these two stories spookily weren't that different. And that's scary, that the witch burnings to now, there's still the running theme there, and not so much has changed. The way she connected the two plots and the two stories, the modern and the old, absolutely fantastic book. The feminist themes in it were so strong. They weren't in your face, you must be a feminist, but it spoke for itself. In fact, I don't even think it uses the word feminism once. It just shows you this story of these girls and the impossibility to get anything right. Great story, completely gut-wrenching, mouth in throat, anxiety fuel to read. It is not for the faint-hearted. Please be in a good frame of mind before you go into that, but it's a great book and I love it. And I love books that have feminist themes. I am a complete feminist. I'm very passionate about feminism. It's not something I talk about all the time, but don't get me started. This tag is really making me want to just go full ham on the feminist angle, especially since feminism has had such a bad rap in recent years, like feminazis and all this shite. And then you got the shit feminists who are like against trans people, and it's a fucking mess. Like, no, please. Ah, it's a mess. But real feminist issues I'm very, very passionate about, and I think we need to talk more about, and it just does not get the validation it really deserves. It's been made a mockery, which isn't surprising. JK, you are not helping, my girl. You are not helping. Before I go on a full rant about feminism, let's get to prompt number 6. A book that is a guilty pleasure. This question is included because guilty pleasure is, you know, something you shouldn't really like, but you do. And of course, this is more often than not directed towards, funnily enough, women and femininity. Who's surprised? This is one I struggle with because there's not really a lot I'm guilty pleasure about. There's been a few things. Nothing I've read recently I have really guilty pleasure about. I'm pretty like, I'll read what I want, fuck you. But there is things in my past I'm more guilty about reading now. So we'll go with those. Let's just talk about it. 50 Shades of Grey. Did I read those? Yes. Did I enjoy them? Yes. Do I understand they're a heaping pile of trash? Yes. They are terrible. The toxic relationship vibes in this, is extremely questionable, and there is a lot in that culture. There is a lot of deep-rooted women hating themselves thread throughout these books. But were they entertaining as fuck to read? Yeah, they were. They weren't written well. There's that. So this is a guilty pleasure. I can never tell people I read and enjoyed that book, because immediately, and rightly so, people are like, and yeah, it was trash. But sometimes you can enjoy trash. Does that make sense? So that's definitely an example of a guilty pleasure. The other books that I can think of that are guilty pleasures is, before I really started this whole booktube channel and everything, I used to read a lot. And I used to read one of two things. Either one of my dystopians, which I reread a million times, and they are still my favourites to this day. And then there's the other side of stuff I used to read. We'll call this the dark erotica phase. I read a lot of erotica in my teenage years. And erotica is that genre that is inherently guilty pleasure as a genre, which is dumb. Sex is a thing. We like sex. Sex is good. Sex and body positivity. We are adults. We're allowed to enjoy the fun, sexy times. So we shouldn't really feel guilty about reading erotica, but it's a thing that a lot of people don't want to talk about erotica. And to be fair, I'm guilty of this. I stopped reading erotica, not really because I was guilty about it, but because I read so much trash. There are amazing eroticas out there, do not get me wrong, but I read so many bad ones, so much trash. The dark days. So many badly written, toxic ass books. Don't talk about them really at all ever. In fact, I think I mentioned it to Jayla over at Lala Loves Books recently that I used to read loads of erotica, and she was like, really? And she was really surprised about that. So I feel like I've hidden that side of my past. You all know now. Not something I wish to hide. I read a lot of erotica. So let's delve through the depths of my Kindle, shall we? And do a rolling shot of all the trash erotica books that I've read in my past. A lot of these are bondage based because your girl has preferences, okay? It is what it is. Difference between being sexy in the bedroom and toxic relationships though. There is a clear line here which a lot of these books didn't grasp. That was a phase that happened, and that's probably the closest guilty pleasure that I have. Anything I read nowadays, I read in a love and I say fuck you if you don't care. Often I tell people I read a lot of YA and a lot of dystopian, and people are like, ugh, what you mean, like all the crappy dystopians of 2010 that we're all bored of and burned out from? And I'm like, you're burned out from an entire genre because you watched The Hunger Games and Divergent. Like, chill down. How many fantasies and sci-fis are there? How many rom-coms have you seen? And you're not burnt out yet? And you're telling me that the top 5 dystopians that got big in the 2010s have burned you out? Yeah, okay. So I usually get a lot of flack for liking YA dystopian, but then again, I'm not guilty about it. Fuck you. Dystopian is great, and I will fight that with my dying breath. And the bonus prompt is my favourite book by a female author that has a female protagonist. This one, there's going to be so many. I could literally pull out half of the books on this bookshelf, but we're going to get real specific up in here. I have 2 favourite authors. One is a male and one is a female. So my favourite female author is Victoria Schwab, and her 2 book/series that have female protagonists are City of Ghosts series and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I haven't read Addie LaRue yet. I fucking will, but I have read City of Ghosts, so I will go with this one. But there are so many amazing female authors that I love, and I love their books which have female protagonists. We got Akemi Dawn Bowman, an auto-bi author now, Elizabeth Lim, Julie Kagawa, Jenna Moresi, Suzanne Kane Quinn, Suzanne Collins. So that is the end of the questions or the prompt. Sometimes I say the word question instead of prompt, and then I realise when I'm editing it and I have to cringe the entire time, and it's fun. But now we're at the end and it's time for the tagging, the bit I almost always forget. So I'm going to tag Jayla over at Lala Loves Lit. We already mentioned you, Jayla, hi. And I'm also going to tag Connor over at Connor's Library Corner. And hey, get Brooke to do it as well, would ya? Thank you. And anyone else who wants to do this tag and has watched this video, you can say I tagged you, go for it, it's all yours. Questions, as always, will be down in the description along with the original video and the video that tagged me from Kaz, so you can go watch those if you want to. I highly recommend the original videos from Books and Chocoholic. It's a great time. She explains why she chose the prompts she did and the reasoning behind them, and they are solid, not a lie spoken, a complete queen. I love everything she said in that video. So if you liked this video and me ranting about feminism, you'll also quite like her video, I'm sure. And thank you to all the ladies who set up the Femathon Readathon. I didn't really get to participate. I've been all over the place in March. We'll talk in my wrap up. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you did, give it a like. I know I always forget to ask for these things, but you know, subscribe if you want to. My number keeps going up and down at the minute. I don't know if YouTube is just drunk or if people are deciding they don't like me and new people are coming. I really have no idea. But whatever. You guys are my family, the ones that are here. I just really appreciate you watching my dumb face. Thank you so much for watching this video. Talk to me in my comments. It's the favourite part, and answer any of these prompts down in the comments below. Your favourite feminist book or a book with a matriarchy. Please let me let me know. Thank you so much for watching and spending some of your time of your life with me. It makes me feel less alone in the world that I have book friends out there. And if you're a silent viewer, because I know I have a fair few views of people that don't comment, feel free to comment. Chatting is my literal favourite thing. I could do it all day. I mean, you knew that, but thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.